Welcome, animal lovers and adventure seekers, to a story that will have you wagging your tails in excitement. Today, we're diving into a world where our furry friends are more than just cute companions, they're superheroes. Meet the incredible trio, Buddy, Luna, and Rocky. First up is Buddy, the golden retriever with a heart of gold and feet of lightning. With his special collar, he can dash faster than a speeding car. Next, we have Luna, the elegant poodle. Her collar grants her the power of invisibility, making her the master of hide and seek. And finally, there's Rocky, the tough-looking bulldog with a surprising trick up his sleeve, or rather, around his neck. His collar can rewind time by a few seconds, perfect for undoing any little mishaps. Our story begins on a bright, sunny day at the park. The air is filled with the sounds of happy barks and laughter. Buddy is a golden blur, zipping across the grass to fetch a bright red ball. He's so fast, he catches it before it even has a chance to bounce. Luna, ever the prankster, flickers in and out of sight, playfully nipping at Buddy's heels before vanishing into thin air. Meanwhile, Rocky is having a bit of trouble. He keeps trying to catch a frisbee, but his short legs aren't quite up to the task. With a frustrated grunt, he activates his collar. Whoosh! Time rewinds, and the frisbee is back in the air, giving him another chance. He finally catches it with a triumphant woof. Life for these super pups is one big, exciting game. Their human, a young inventor named Alex, watches from a nearby bench, smiling. Alex created their magical collars, not for fighting crime, but to make their lives as fun and enriching as possible. The park is their playground, and their powers are their favorite toys. But as we all know, even the most perfect days can take an unexpected turn. The chaos started, as it often does, with a squirrel. This wasn't just any squirrel. This was the park's reigning champion of taunting, a fluffy-tailed menace with a PhD in dog teasing. It chattered cheekily from a branch, flicking its tail as if daring them to a challenge. That's all it took. Buddy, with a determined bark, shot off like a rocket. Luna, giggling in a series of happy yips, turned invisible to sneak up on the critter. Rocky, not wanting to be left out, charged forward with all his might. The three dogs converged on the oak tree in a whirlwind of fur, paws, and superpowers. In the commotion, Buddy skidded to a halt, sending a shower of dirt into the air. Luna, still invisible, tripped right over him. Rocky, bringing up the rear, couldn't stop in time and tumbled head over paws into the pile. It was a tangle of tails, ears, and legs. When they finally entangled themselves, shaking their heads, they noticed something was wrong. In the scuffle, their collars had unclipped and fallen to the ground. They lay in a heap in the grass, identical except for the small, color-coded gems that denoted their powers. Eager to get back to the squirrel chase, each dog quickly grabbed a collar and snapped it on. But in their haste, they didn't pay attention to which one they were grabbing. Buddy snatched the one with the purple gem. Luna fastened the one with the blue gem. And Rocky, a bit dazed, put on the collar with the orange gem. They shook themselves off, ready for action, completely unaware that their lives were about to get very, very complicated. The squirrel, sensing its victory, chattered one last time and scampered away. The dogs, however, had a brand new problem. Buddy, now wearing Rocky's time rewind collar, was the first to notice something was amiss. He spotted his favorite red ball lying a few feet away and decided to go for it. He took a step, but then suddenly found himself back where he started. He tried again, and again. He was stuck in a time loop of his own making, his every attempt to move forward being accidentally undone. He whined in confusion, looking at his paws as if they'd betrayed him. He wasn't the fastest dog in the park anymore. He could barely take a single step. Meanwhile, Luna, who was now wearing Buddy's super speed collar, was having an equally baffling experience. She tried to take a graceful, poodle-like step toward a water fountain. Instead, she shot forward like a furry missile, zipping past the fountain and straight into a rosebush. Thorns and leaves flew everywhere. She yelped in surprise, tried to back up slowly, and ended up rocketing backward across the entire field, finally stopping when she gently bumped into the park's main gate. She sat there, dizzy and covered in petals, wondering why her legs had suddenly developed a mind of their own. But perhaps the most comical sight was Rocky the bulldog, now equipped with Luna's invisibility collar. Rocky, a creature of simple pleasures, just wanted to take a nap in a patch of sun. He curled up, closed his eyes, and promptly disappeared. A few moments later, he woke up and stretched. He glanced down to lick his paw and saw nothing, just grass. He panicked. He looked for his tail gone. He tried to see his own chunky body vanished. He let out a terrified bark, which echoed strangely since it seemed to be coming from thin air. He started running in circles, a frantic, invisible whirlwind of panic, bumping into benches and trash cans he couldn't see because he was too busy trying to see himself. The park, once a place of joyful play, had turned into a stage for a slapstick comedy of errors. Buddy was trapped in a stutter of time, Luna was an uncontrollable blue-colored blur, and Rocky was a terrified ghost dog. They were completely out of their element, struggling to control powers that felt alien and wrong. They tried to find each other, but it was chaos. Luna would try to walk toward Buddy's confused whines, only to overshoot him by 100 feet. Buddy would try to follow the sound of Luna crashing into things, only to rewind himself back to his starting point. And poor Rocky just kept bumping into everything, his invisible form making him a hazard to himself and everyone else. They were frustrated, confused, and a little bit scared. Their fun day had turned into a nightmare. They had always taken their own powers for granted, but now, faced with abilities they couldn't understand, they realized just how much they relied on what was familiar. This mix-up wasn't fun anymore. It was a mess. Just when they thought things couldn't get any crazier, a new sound cut through the air. It wasn't a bark or a confused whine. It was a tiny, desperate meow. High up in the very same oak tree the squirrel had been in, a small ginger kitten had climbed too far. It was perched precariously on a thin branch, too scared to move up or down. A little girl stood at the base of the tree, crying, pointing up at her trapped pet. This was a real problem, a hero's call to action. But how could our heroes possibly help? They looked at each other or, in Rocky's case, looked in the general direction of where the others should be. They were a mess. Buddy couldn't run, Luna couldn't control her speed, and Rocky couldn't even be seen. For a moment, they just stared, feeling helpless. The kitten meowed again, a heartbreaking little plea. That was it. They had to do something. Buddy gave a sharp bark, a signal that said, "We have to try." Looking at the tree, an idea, as jumbled as their powers, began to form. They didn't have the right tools for the job, but they were the only ones who could do it. It was time for the most awkward rescue mission in history. The plan, if you could call it that, was simple: get to the kitten. The execution was anything but. Rocky, still wearing the super speed collar, was their best bet for getting up the tree. The problem was, he had all the grace of a runaway bowling ball. He took a running start, or rather, a walking start that immediately turned into a hyper-speed launch. He shot toward the tree trunk, missed it on the first pass, and zipped right by. Luna, seeing this, yelped. The sound of her yelp accidentally triggered her new time rewind collar. Whoosh! Time snapped back a few seconds. Rocky was back at his starting line, looking dazed. "Okay, let's try that again," Buddy seemed to say with an encouraging woof. This time, Buddy and Luna barked directions, trying to help Rocky aim. He launched again. This time he hit the tree, but with so much force he just bounced off it. Whoosh! Luna rewound time again. This became their pattern. Rocky would make a chaotic, super speed attempt, and Luna would give them a do-over every time he failed. It was like a video game where they had infinite lives. On the fifth try, Rocky managed to channel his uncontrolled speed into a frantic scrabble. He didn't climb the tree so much as he ricocheted up it, pinballing between branches until, by sheer luck, he ended up on a thick limb just below the stranded kitten. Success. Sort of. He was up there, but he was panting and dizzy, and every slight twitch sent him skittering dangerously along the branch. Now for phase 2, getting the kitten. The little cat was terrified of the panting, speeding bulldog who had just appeared out of nowhere. This is where Buddy's new power came in, or rather, the power he was now wearing. Invisibility. He barked instructions to Rocky, who was still visible, telling him to stay perfectly still. Then, Buddy focused. He activated the collar, and poof, he vanished. Slowly, carefully, the invisible golden retriever began to climb. Because he was moving at his normal, careful pace, he could navigate the branches without trouble. The kitten, hearing something approach but seeing nothing, just tilted its head in curiosity. Buddy crept along the branch until he was right behind the kitten. He gave a gentle, invisible nudge with his nose, nudging the little furball toward Rocky. The kitten, startled but unharmed, stumbled forward and right into Rocky's waiting, gentle mouth. They had it, but now they had to get down. Rocky, holding the kitten carefully, couldn't risk another super speed disaster. So, they improvised. Buddy, still invisible, guided him. Luna, watching from below, kept her paw metaphorically on the rewind button. Rocky slid, stumbled, and half fell down the tree, but with Buddy clearing the path and Luna ready to undo any major falls, they made it to the bottom in one piece. Rocky gently set the purring kitten down. The little girl scooped it up, crying tears of joy this time. She hugged all three dogs, even the invisible one, who she could only feel as a warm, furry presence. Panting and exhausted, the three heroes finally sat down together. They looked at the collars, then at each other. They had done it. They had saved the day, not with their own powers, but with a chaotic, clumsy, and brilliant combination of the wrong ones. Buddy's patience was needed to master invisibility. Luna's quick reflexes were perfect for handling the time rewind collar, and Rocky's sheer, stubborn bulk was the only thing that could withstand the jarring force of super speed. They had learned something important. They learned to appreciate the challenges that came with each other's abilities. Buddy now understood that controlling time was a delicate art, and Luna realized that super speed wasn't just about going fast, but about control. And Rocky? Well, Rocky was just happy to be visible again. With a new sense of respect for one another, they carefully unclipped the collars and swapped them back. The familiar hum of their own powers felt comfortable, like coming home. Buddy felt the energy of speed return to his legs. Luna felt the familiar shimmer of light bending around her, and Rocky felt the comforting weight of time settle back under his control. But as they trotted home with Alex, a new idea sparked between them. Maybe, just maybe, swapping collars wasn't such a bad thing after all. Maybe it was a way to train, to learn, to become even better heroes. They gave each other a knowing look. This chaotic collar swap wasn't the end of their story. It was just the beginning of a whole new set of adventures. Who knows what powers they'll try next? Thanks for watching our super pup tale. If you enjoyed their adventure, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more, and let us know in the comments which power you'd want your pet to have. We'll see you in the next video.